r/ask Reddit. Reddit, what's your favorite way to subtly duck with people? At work there's a file on the computer for printing off employee name tags. They're very basic and will just say their name with store assistant or whatever their role is underneath. I started going onto the file and slightly changing their names, then replacing their name tags when they leave them in the staff room. Then seeing how long it'll take them to notice. Heather the assistant manager was Heater the stag manager for 4 whole days before someone pointed it out. I have a presentation at work I use regularly where we did something similar to the title of one slide. Only a few people have ever commented on it, and I often wonder if everyone else either doesn't notice or is afraid to ask. When I had to give presentations or whatnot at a big corporate job I did this. Not to duck with people, though. To prove when people were stealing my work and passing it off as their own. I'd also add a text box in the background. The same color as the background. That said made by Fiaisky Ice or something to that effect. Where I live, there's this walking path that's about 5 miles. It's alongside a main road. Since I ride my bike a lot, I've had a chance to explore, and I discovered that there are plenty of loops and trails within the perimeter of that walking path. But most people in the area just know about the main path, and don't know about these loops, or how long they are, so they just walk around the circle. When I'm on my bike, and I see people walking the perimeter, I'll pass them and then do one of the inner loops for 5-10 minutes. Then I'll go back out on the main road. Then I'll pass the walkers I saw minutes ago, and I'll do it again, and again. More than once I've heard someone say, how did she get behind us again? Like it's some glitch in the matrix. The second time you pass them, they go, hang on, isn't that the chick who passed us before? Nah, must be confused. Third time, okay, what the duck, that's gotta be the same person. Fourth time, chasing you down. Come back here, why are you following us? Occasionally if my co-worker is having a bad day I will say to her, at least we only have 3 hours left. So recently when we are down to our last 10-20 minutes I tell her at least we only have 2 hours left, and she freaks out and looks at the clock. I like to think I'm being helpful, but she doesn't always see it that way. My nephew once, out of the blue, just stated, you know, some things just take 3 hours. We're not sure where it came from, but your story reminded me of it. When I was 6 years old, I was on a road trip with my family, and I was in my seat, staring blankly out the window of boredom. Then for some reason, I had an epiphany, and had to tell everyone in the car. I got both of my parents to stop having some intense debate to listen to my great revelation. Did you know that vipers can kill you? So now, I'm 24 years old, and for 18 years my family has replaced the phrase, "This is off topic," but, with, "Vipers can kill you," but, as if it were the normal way to communicate that concept. My family uses "speaking of seeds." When my aunt was 5, she wanted to tell a story but couldn't figure out how to bring it up. They were outside and grandma was gardening. So my aunt said, "Speaking of seeds," and proceeded to tell a story completely unrelated to seeds. My aunt is now 48 and we still say it from time to time. We also bring up the time she asked her boyfriend's Italian mother how the spaghetti crop was that year because she fell for that old fake video of spaghetti harvesting. Poor auntie, we never let her live things down. Someone leaves gnomes in my parents' garden. We still don't know who, but every time they have a big gathering it happens. I like the fact that it's during gatherings, and not just random happenstance. Random happenstance. Somebody could be sneaking in and doing it while they're not there, but if it's happening during gatherings, then somebody is smuggling gnomes into a crowd, and that's simply a beautiful thought. Someone they know is smuggling gnomes. This is not just some random weirdo. Oh no. Someone they know. Someone they invite to parties, exchange Christmas cards with. Someone they probably think is a perfectly sensible adult with an opinion on the economy and which wine to have with dinner, is secretly a gnome smuggler. Have a friend named Carrie and I called her Gary for a good year before she noticed. This is unrelated and I'm not sure if I count as ducking with someone, but I knew this girl named Carrie in high school who was campaigning for prom queen. She made a bunch of posters using scenes from Stephen King's Carrie with Sissy Spacek basically saying, "Vote for me, or this will happen." She won. My brother has a mother-in-law named Judy. A few weeks ago, she finally realized that whenever he's on the phone FaceTime with her, he addresses her as Dudy. He admitted he's been doing it for about 10 years now. It started as a joke with his wife and then it became how long can this go on? Apparently 10 years. Dudy. Hit caps lock on my co-worker's lock screen every time he leaves his desk. Underrated idea here, this would definitely piss some people off. I'm pretty sure my cat has done this to me before. Grab a few friends. Put your arms around each other. All face one direction and smile. People crossing your path in public will notice you and think they're walking through a picture you're taking. They get very confused when they see there's no one taking a picture of you. And you just smile and stare. Also wear the same clothing, preferably a robe, while doing it. Congratulations, you are now a cult. In my old days as a server, I would sneak packs of mustard into co-workers' pockets or aprons. I was eventually found out and titled the Mustard Man. I had a big puffy coat and one day I came home from serving tables with 6 lemons stuffed into my pockets. Back when I worked at GameStop, we would get a surprising amount of prank phone calls. My favorite way of dealing with these hooligans was to just pretend I couldn't hear them. More than a few times I've gotten some kid to scream Battletoads before hanging up on them. Back in '99, just before the Y2K scare, my buddy worked there and would get calls like that all the time. He would pick up the phone when they called and not say anything for a second to see if he could hear any snickering before saying the stole greeting. If he could tell it was going to be a prank call, he would start the greeting and then congratulate them on being the lucky caller that would receive a free game for calling. All they had to do was come down and pick it up. Sounds stupid, but it worked every time. When the kids showed up to get the free game, he would have them pose with the game they chose, take their picture with a Polaroid camera, take the game from them and then ask how does it feel to be pranked, stop calling the store and get out. He kept the pictures to hang on the back wall to warn other employees of the shitheads who prank called them. Probably wasn't legal, but knowing those kids prank backfired on them is pretty funny. I say no pun intended when there is absolutely no pun whatsoever. Fun to watch people reflect on it for a bit and see if they'll ask what the pun is or just pretend to get it, etc. I always tell them after a minute that I was just ducking about. Don't like leaving them in the dark. If they ask, just say there was no pun. That's why I said no pun intended. I mean what I say. Stacy. It's Mark without an O, but there's no O in Mark. What the duck did I say then? Stacy? All those useless things you sign up for and they need a number, but you know telemarketers will call. I use my old work number. Hey, the guy who used to have my cell phone number does something similar. RIP. I ask them if there's double letters or not in some words. I always forget. Does Friday have one Y or two? Friday, the day of the week when menus must consist of foods such as fried chicken, French fries, fried pickles, and deep fried Oreos. Or where we honor Philip J. Fry for saving that nerd's life. I'm going a little old school on this one. Wearing a shiny watch and beaming sunlight into people's eyes who I don't particularly care for. I just use my phone screen. Sometimes, I mispronounce a word, and when people give me a weird look, I say the word correctly. For example, I'll say ice cream instead of ice cream. When people are like, did that dude just say ice cream? I'll say ice cream for the rest of the conversation. I once saw a comment on Reddit from someone who did this with take care. They would say dong hair. Having a disagreement with someone and then say yeah okay you're right and walking away. Leave them with some argument blue balls. This has become a requirement with my mother on the phone. Ma, by the way, look at the moon later tonight. Mars is supposed to be next to it and nearly the same size. Me. Not possible. Unless the world is ending and our gravity has been getting ducked up for weeks. That can't happen. Ma. Yelling. Yes it is. I read an article about it online earlier. It's supposed to be the closest it's been in years and you can take a photo of the two of them next to each other. Me. Mom, it can't happen. It's not possible. The internet lied too. Ma. Yes it can. And it will. Me. Alright. Love you mom. Have a good night. Get a picture for me. I like to pretend I don't know what a simple word means and have them explain it. Also, staring just past their head makes people always look. On Monday and Thursday at 7:30 PM wearing the same clothes, I'd go into the same 7-Eleven, get the same thing, greet the same cashier the same way, and always ask him, is there a bathroom I could use? I did that for 3.5 months. The poor man. Honestly, if that happened to me, I would just think the person was autistic and not give it further consideration. If people are tailgating me while driving, I'll spray my windshield wiper to clean my windshield. Nothing makes me laugh harder than seeing the car behind me wipe off their windshields because the spray hits their vehicle. So, fun story. One of my dormmates in college had a Jeep with a busted rear windshield wiper. The blade arm had snapped off in a windstorm, leaving just the tube dangling behind in the center of the bottom part of the window. Thing is, the wiper fluid is pressurized. This meant, when he activated the wiper, the tube would grow, erect, and then spray directly backwards away from his car thanks to the wind. His car could literally ejaculate onto another car's windshield like some kind of great, floppy dong car facial. Tailgaters would basically immediately slam the brakes and back way the hell off when it popped up and started spraying around. I'm sure it was all kinds of illegal, dangerous, but funny as all hell. Holy shit, great floppy dong car facial. That's gotta be one of the best phrases I've ever read. If I'm watching TV and a telemarketer rings, I sound polite and interested but keep asking them to hold on for a minute and keep watching TV. I then apologize and repeat soon after. This can go on for a long time. I do this to those scam calls that say they are the Microsoft security department or whatever. I will pretend I'm trying to follow their instructions to give them remote access and string them along for as long as I can. Then at the end I'll be like, oh, I've figured out the problem. I'm on a Mac. If I really want to be stupid, I'll say I don't even have a computer. This is a microwave. They usually get pretty angry before hanging up. I usually just start reading steamy erotic fan fiction out loud. The same telemarketer has been calling my house multiple times a day for the last couple weeks. I've told them I'm not interested, but they keep calling. So now whenever they call I answer but stay completely silent and see how long they'll wait before hanging up. So far the record's 29 seconds. When I'm twisting a twist tie, I like to pinch it and twist it the opposite direction a few different times so it rewraps itself multiple times when you try to untwist it. I don't know who you are or where you live, but I hate you. I get slang purposefully wrong to mess with teens. Oh man, this sandwich is lit, eat 100%, right? You wanna really duck with teens? Use it perfectly. Speak their exact language, down to the smallest detail. They'll wonder if any words are cool ever again. Use the out of date stuff. There's so much YOLO stuff out there. Aren't you a cute swag hum? How are you all today? Super danking? I am beyond ready to be a mum. When walking past them on the street, stare right at them and say, I don't know if you can hear me, but please wake up. This would mess me up so bad. You're evil, but honestly, that's hilarious. Every now and then, I swap locations of cutlery in my kitchen. For the next few days, my housemates will be getting out a knife and spoon for a meal or a fork for a coffee, and they don't know why. One time for April Fool's, my son and I switched the plate cupboard with the cup cupboard. It ducked my wife up for months. She'd just be in there, like 3 months later, and you'd hear her open something, and then she'd yell, "Really guys?" My entire life, even when I've moved, the kitchen light has always been inside on the right. My new house is outside on the left. Almost a year later it still ducks me up. Ring a friend from a payphone. Say it's done. Meet me at location again and never let anyone know what happened in a nervous voice and hang up before they can respond. Next time you see them, casually ask if they'd like to hang out in the location from the call, and if they ask if you were behind the call, feign all ignorance. Take a screenshot of their desktop. Get rid of all the icons on their desktop. Then make screenshot their wallpaper. If you want to go extreme, replace their cursor with a blank .car file. Oh man, you're true sadist, alright. Just wow. I once recorded my chickens fighting, and using a thing a friend of mine rigged up from an old motion sensing Furby, made so that anytime people entered my workplace, the sound of a chicken fight breaking out went off. I need to see that video. I say something and if they aren't paying attention and ask what I said, I act as though I never said anything. By the third or fourth time this happens they put themselves on edge, second guessing themselves over whether they're hearing things or not. Sometimes I'll just stop talking at random points during a conversation. Like, I'll move my mouth but cut out the middle part of the sentence. My uncle did this to my grandma on a family vacation once and it ducked with her so bad that she honest to God thought she was losing her hearing. Hey, you cut out, could you repeat that? Pretend this is a blank comment. I will occasionally mispronounce someone's name subtly. For instance, call Mike Matt or Nick. And if they correct me, say it doesn't matter. People hate this and I promise I only do it to people who have done something to me first. Also, I'm hiding nickels all in more and more conspicuous areas in a colleague's office, driving them crazy. The first few were just on their desk, then in their drawers, on the floor of the office, taped to the back of their computer, wedged into the wheels of their chair, etc etc. Before I left on Friday I taped a nickel to the bottom of her wireless mouse. This has been going on for a few months already and it's the best $1.30 I've ever spent. When she finally finds them all and adds them up, get up and announce, has anyone seen my $1.30? Or you could announce, has anyone seen my $1.35? And have them live in horror. I just say things that don't add up with what they asked. Like, how are you today? Yes, sounds dumb but it annoys the shit out of people and it's hilarious. Where are you from? 2 o'clock. Do you need anything? Okay. How many do you want me to take? Sure. In high school computer lab I would always quickly turn off my computer monitor while copying old Reddit comments to repost when my teacher would come around the corner and go oh shit, and he would make me turn it back on to see what I was doing, and it would always just be the spreadsheet or whatever it was I was working on, and he would demand to know what I was doing that I had to hide. This went on for weeks, and then one day while at the computer I see out of my peripherals this little Kyrgyzstanian man, my teacher, slowly sneaking up beside my desk on his hands and knees trying to get a look at my screen. All I could see was the top of his head and it stayed with me to this day. It's at that moment you bring up a picture of Nicolas Cage and wishfully sigh when he thinks you don't know he's watching. I'll usually listen to whatever someone is saying and then reply with, well, you know what they always say. Then I just stop talking and never acknowledge ever having said that. I live in Japan and as a white foreigner people don't think I speak Japanese. I work the same shitty job that most fresh off the boat English speaking foreigners work in Japan, which is teaching English. I am not allowed to speak Japanese in my school, and so I will often hear students and staff talking about me or my classes in the lobby, usually good or neutral chatter. I have recently taken to responding to their Japanese in English. For example, student teacher's class was fun today, she was full of energy. Me, oh wow, really? Thank you, Hanako. They will usually say something like, oh wow, teacher speaks Japanese, in Japanese, to which I will respond, in English, what? I don't speak Japanese. It's really dumb. But it's a nice form of entertainment during the grind, and I can usually keep the charade up for a few minutes before it gets stale. I tell people no sneezing when they sneeze. It confuses the shit out of people who realize I didn't say bless you. Me. Hi. How are you? Them. I'm well. How are you? Me. I'm doing great. How are you? Them. I'm well. About 50% of the time, I get caught and just look stupid, but the other 60% of the time, I win and they look stupid. Not a huge deal, but I like going to bars and choosing songs on the jukebox that people probably won't like. For example, a dive bar with a rough older crowd will get a selection of boy band songs. I once stuck a Waffle House with an entire Michael Bublé Christmas album in the middle of June. Whenever someone comes to shake my hand, I move my hand slightly to the left. All it takes is a little movement and they completely miss my hand. Have you ever tried putting your thumb down just before a handshake? They will end up grabbing your entire hand and the reactions are hilarious. Tell them ridiculous lies that are just believable enough that they aren't worth googling and wait for them to repeat them to more intelligent people. A good example of this is when my partner told a friend of ours about heavy electricity, very compact electricity that is cheaply produced in poor countries and sometimes falls out of the wires onto people's heads and kills them. I hate this. My husband does this. Once he went on about nematodes, which he says are microscopic toads that you put on the lawn and then eat the grubs in the lawn to keep raccoons from digging up your lawn, etc. I called bullshit, loudly and firmly for all to hear. Then the nematodes arrived in the mail. Turns out they are not toads, but worms, and everything else is accurate. I hate love my husband. I used to go on the school computers and make Microsoft Word so when you type a word it changes to another word. For example, I might make the word that turn into chicken when someone types it. My elementary school actually called the tech people to fix it and then banned me from the computer lab for the rest of the year, even though it's a pretty simple fix. I have the tendency to tell other grown men at work that I love them. It's hilarious watching their reactions at first. Usually, within a few weeks of doing it I actually get a chuckle and an I love you too. Usually followed by being called a weirdo or something similar. The thing is, it actually gets a genuine chuckle and a smile most times. It's a subtle way of making someone feel happy and making guys feel okay with sharing feelings with other guys. It is without a doubt my favorite thing to do at work. I have no shame. I work at McDonald's. When I have to make more than one cone, I make one bigger so that there will be a fight. Whoa, you made it to the end? You're a ducking beast. I'll cut you a deal. Smash like and subscribe for more curated content, bruh. It's free and that's a great price.